Let's go. What is the nature of ATP? Well, ATP is an acronym or an abbreviation for a complicated chemical called adenosine triphosphate. You can see A for adenosine, T for the tri, and P for the phosphate, ATP. The bad news is, though, you are expected to remember the word adenosine triphosphate because it is actually mentioned on the syllabus. Now, ATP is a complicated chemical. It is made up of other chemicals, one of which is adenine. Now, we'd have met adenine before. It is one of the 4 bases in DNA and in RNA. It contains nitrogen. Ribose is a sugar. We have met the sugar ribose in the structure of RNA as well. And it has 3 phosphates. We can understand the structure of ATP a little bit better if we look at the word structure. Here we can see adenine, or nitrogen-containing base, the sugar ribose. Now, the sugar ribose has 5 carbon atoms in it, for those of you who like detail. This is why the ribose sugar is given this symbol here, 5 carbon atoms, a pentose sugar. Now, the adenine and the ribose can be taken together, and when they are, the word adenosine can be used to describe them. ATP also has 3 phosphates. The phosphates are found here at the end and are bonded to one another. The bonds contain a lot of energy. Sometimes they're referred to as energy-rich bonds. Other times they can be called an unstable bond, whether or which they contain a lot of energy. You need to be able to draw this structure. Now, when a cell needs energy, what happens is the ATP will release the energy. And when it does, it is changed into ADP. And here is the phosphorus that is set free. It is now called adenosine diphosphate because it has 2 phosphate groups in its structure. So we start with our structure of ATP. As we mentioned already, we have energy-rich bonds here. When the cell needs energy, the ATP breaks up and sets free one of the phosphate groups, and the energy is released, which can be used in the cell. ATP now becomes ADP and a phosphate group. You can see it has only 2 phosphate groups, adenosine diphosphate. We have included the little abbreviation here, the letter I, because on occasion you might see that written down and it stands for inorganic phosphate. Now, when energy is given out in a cell, when energy is released as a result of chemical reactions, we have to have a way of storing it for future use. So it can be stored when ADP combines with a phosphate to form ATP again, and we are basically back where we started. So what is the role of ATP? Well, ATP is a chemical that stores energy in cells. It carries energy from where it is produced to where it is needed. So in a nutshell, according to the syllabus, ATP has a special role in the trapping and transferring of energy for cell activities. ADP and ATP are interconvertible. This idea of interconvertibility, being converted from one form to the other, is a very important concept that we have to make sure we master. ATP, as we have said, is a high energy, an energy-rich chemical or molecule. When energy is needed in a cell, it will break down and release the energy. Now, strictly speaking, in order for that to happen, water is required. But most times we can neglect this little point and ignore it. So basically, the ATP will break down into ADP and release its energy. This energy can then be used for activities in the cell. ADP, in reverse, can pick up energy if it is released in the cell, combine with a phosphate group and store the energy and be converted into ATP. So ATP is an energy-rich molecule. I like to think of ATP as being a van full of energy. When a cell needs energy, it will deliver the energy from place to place and drop it off wherever it is required. When it's carrying its 3 passengers, the 3 phosphates, 2 in the back seat, 1 in the front, it is full. It has energy. The crack is mighty. There is energy stored in the van. ATP is a store of energy for the cell. When ATP loses a phosphate, when it loses a passenger, the guy in the front gets out. It's like something is missing. The energy is lost too. The energy in the van is low. ADP, with only 2 phosphates, the 2 in the back, is a low energy molecule. It is now free to pick up energy and pick up a phosphate. So when energy is released in a cell, ADP, the empty van, will be there to pick it up, along with a phosphate, becoming ATP, an energy-rich molecule that stores energy for the cell. Remember, we said ATP has a special role in trapping and transferring energy for cell activities.